I hope everyone is doing alright. As you can see by the title, today I'm going to be talking a bit about Brexit since we are reaching a meaningful anniversary, the 10 years since the British people decided to vote out of the European Union. So I believe it was appropriate to do it. I tried to make a video about it before, but I started off in a rant. So I decided to make this new video, calmer one. I had my lunch, just relaxing, okay, trying to rest up during the weekend for the week's day work, and I was just considering a couple of things. Some of it is what has been circling around in the United Kingdom, in the rejoin movements or whatever, that they consider it's perhaps time for a new Brexit vote. Okay, now, first of all, I'm not going to question the intentions because they are good, but the issue here is why Starbucks should do such a thing. But then again, you start to think about Starmer and everything that he has been doing since he got into office has been rather cowardly. He has been basically a coward. At the beginning of it, I thought that perhaps he was trying to be tactile about it. He was trying to pave the way for other measures. And I'm not saying everything that he has done is bad, because it's not. Unless you are some idiot that just listens to right-wing media and whatever the hell is going on in UK's media that I don't even consider as a medium per se. Unless you are going the way of those people, okay, you would know, you would understand that he has actually done a couple of good things for the UK. The last of it was the Erasmus mechanism, that he was able to pay in to be a part of it. Now, a lot of people don't understand how these flagships in the EU and how these what they call perks, they are not perks, they are a consequence of the existence of the EU and of people being a part of it, work. These things work with funding, and that funding comes out of the pocket of each and every European citizen. So the loans for the weapons procurement that the UK has failed to enter, but in which Canada, South Korea, Japan, Australia, and New Zealand are a part of already. These imply that you enter with money that goes into that budget to sustain it. If you are not a EU member, you have to pay to enter in it. And it's just fair because, after all, we are creating the mechanism or the flagship, let's call it, because that's what it is, flagships. It's a good enough name. To me, it's mechanisms because it's a part of the structure of the EU. If you want to come in, and we would like you to have you here, okay, you would be welcome, then you will have to pay. And the EU offered a fair proposal to the UK. And the UK responded with a humiliating answer, as if this was the good old days when the UK, when it was inside of the EU, it would scream and kick, and people in Brussels, just to not listen to their constant mewling, would give them a carrot and Let them just stay in the little piece of sovereignty and of idiocy. And okay, you don't need to apply this just for the sake of not listening to the constant grievance of the British politicians. This is the truth, okay? And if you don't believe in me, look, go back in time, go read some news, and not British news for God's sakes, and understand what is happening. And there is no punishing the UK. There is no ill will towards the UK. In fact, countries in Europe just want the UK to act as a normal country, okay? And you have to understand that your life conditions, that your economic conditions, that your economic perks are gone because of Brexit. Look, business used to enter the United Kingdom and then distribute itself across Europe. A lot of companies would just have their representations in the United Kingdom. Why? Because it was easier. It's an English-speaking country, even if in Europe everyone has English as a second language. It's one of the second languages in the country, almost all countries. And it's a fairly easy language to be understood. It's much less complicated than a lot of other European languages, including my two native ones, Portuguese and German. So it was just easy. Okay, it was just easy, and that's the only reason. And when you try to associate that to ideas of empire and of this and of that, it becomes ridiculous, It becomes ridiculous. For look, people were speaking Latin in the late Middle Ages, okay, and in the early Renaissance times, because it had been an easy language to learn that everyone learned in schools, okay. It was an easy way to communicate with someone. It was an easy way, for example, for someone in England, a king in England, to send a letter to the Portuguese king. It would send it in Latin, and vice versa, because everyone would understand what is written there, and it would be easier for everyone. And today, it's the same thing with English. During the discovery, at the times of the discovery, it was Portuguese and Spanish, okay? For a brief time, it was French. Look, it's normal. It's absolutely normal. Tomorrow, it might be, I don't know, might be Mandarin or some shit like that. Okay, it's absolutely ridiculous to be trying to associate that with some kind of right to have a perk, with self-entitlement, to be honest. But if Farage, yes, we'll be talking about that bastard too. If Starmer wanted to have a second referendum, to do so without having an actual media law, it would be ridiculous. I have explained this before, but I'm going to use the example of my country. That is no heaven, not in a million years, but that does sit in the top 10 of the countries where journalists have the most freedom to do their job, which is saying a lot. Go see where the UK and the USA are, and then talk with me. It's available. Just use your search engine, whatever you use to look for it. Just Google journalist freedom index. You will find it. Okay, I might drop a link in this video if I remember. Sorry. But first of all, you need to have a media law, because around here it's like this. First of all, there is freedom of journalism. Okay, journalists have to be free to do their job, but they have to respect the laws of the land and the personal rights of each and every citizen. This is why I often tell a lot of fellow people that also do YouTube videos and that film things and whatever, to be very careful who you film when you are in Europe. Because, look, I'm not going to tell you that anyone is going to care that their face appears in one of your vlog videos where you are describing how nice a pastel de nata and an espresso is. Okay, I'm not saying that. Rarely that will happen. People will just who cares? Okay, it's meaningless. But you can really get in trouble about that here. Okay, because people might, if someone tells you, you cannot film me, you cannot record my audio, you cannot do anything. My image is mine. You better do that. You better not divulge or film anyone in any kind of a situation. If you are in a supermarket and an employee approaches you and says you cannot film here, sir, you better not film there, because it's a crime. It's a personal right. It's something that you cannot violate. It's that person's personal space. Okay? But as I was saying, here we have strict laws about things such as fake news, misinformation, hate, speech, and all of that. And that does not impede anyone of having their freedom. Look, I'm right here talking with you, giving you my opinion, and I don't see any gun pressed against my head. Maybe sometimes the claws of my little kitty, which is demanding attention, okay, and a little more, okay. But there is this idea that I don't know, I don't really understand where this came from, that laws and regulations impede free speech. No. Only when laws and regulations order you to do something, then they become a bit overwhelming for the average citizen. But when laws and regulations are there to protect your rights and the rights of the next person, they are good. They are desirable because they establish boundaries, and you need boundaries. For example, around here we have laws that impede you from discriminating on a person based on their religion, gender, political affiliation, or even their sexual identification, meaning gay or transgender people. Now, this does not mean that you are forced, for example, to accept a person of a different race or a different religion or a different sexual identification. That doesn't mean that. But it does mean that you cannot be violent or hateful about it. Because it's one thing for you to say, for example, I'll give you a very practical example. You can say something like that you don't like you don't like to hang around with gay people or with people of race A, B, or C. That is perfectly acceptable. It might not be morally correct, but that does not mean that it's not acceptable, because we are talking about your personal freedom to be with whoever you want to be. But what you cannot say is that something like, for example, gay people should be this, or should be hauled into camps to be re-educated, or they should be all shot, or people from race A and B should be kicked out of the country, or religion A and B, or I hate them and I hate this and I hate that. This is hate speech. And this is precisely why the Americans cannot understand what free speech is. Because here we have a concept that is as simple as this: my freedom ends when another person's freedom begins, and vice versa. This means that you need to have respect for others, and the others have to respect you. And if there is any question, well, there's a state to solve these issues. That's their job, not our job. But look, for example, I don't particularly like some kind of people, some type of people, and people with some kinds of ideas. I don't like some types of music. I don't like some types of food. Look, this is absolutely normal. But I don't go around beating people that like tomato soup. Okay, I loathe tomato soup. For example, I cannot stand it. No, I don't eat cheese either. I hate it. I hate it. But I'm not. See, in this context, I can say hate. But I don't go around beating up people that like to eat cheese and tomato soup or both. You know, it's a simple way of seeing things, just like the transgender issue. It's also a very simple thing to deal with. Okay, you just say it's up of what they said here. It's up to the doctors. People talk with their doctors. The doctors assess their situation. They see if they are truly transgender, if they need to transition, if they have some kind of other issue, if they do have an issue mentally, if they are not alright or something like that, okay, and it's just a fixation, whatever, it's up to the doctors to assess that. Psychologists, shrinks, shrinks and doctors and medical people that have studied and that have qualifications to do that. Same thing with vaccines, okay? It's the doctors that decide this. It's not your personal right, for example, to refuse to be vaccinated. Because if you refuse to be vaccinated, then you are attacking other people's freedom and personal space. This is why around here, in order to work, in order to go about your normal business, you have to be vaccinated. Unless you go and sit in a house in the top of a hill and you don't even come down to buy groceries, you have to do it. And your kids have to be vaccinated. And this has been a shock for a couple of Americans that have come here and that had discovered the hard way. When because they refuse to vaccinate their kids or whatever, and then they are being prosecuted and their kids are being removed from them because we don't fuck around with things like that around here. You have to be absolutely logic about these things. Okay, when you try to mingle emotions and assumptions and ideas with true science, with true medical practice, you are going a very bad path. And I know we are talking about Brexit, but I think it's important because this is going to bring me to another question. A lot of people blame Brexit on A, B, and C. To me, the first culprit of Brexit is a lack of education. Look, there is a reason why people were googling what the EU is after they voted for Brexit. That tells you a million things about the culture of a country. Can you understand this? Because I can't. Because when I go to vote, I'm making a choice. I know about the parties. I know about everyone. Before I decide on whom am I going to vote. And for a referendum for such an important thing, I would Google, so to speak. Now I use other search engines, boycotting Google, but I would search what a thing is. What are you proposing here? And I would not fall prey to lies, like for example that old one of they told us everything would be the same. How can everything be the same if you leave the EU? If you leave the EU, everything that comes with it goes away. You are no longer a member of that club, let's call it like this. You don't have the same prerogatives. You don't have the same freedoms. You don't have the same rights. You don't have the same ability that we have and that we want to keep. Especially younger people, okay? Younger people, they love the EU. What is it not to love? Imagine this, you are here in Portugal and during the summer, for example, can hop over to Italy to work during the summer. This is an example. Or you can get in your car and do like I have done. Get out of Portugal to the south. Go visit Andalusia that I love. Okay? Go all the way to South France that I don't particularly like. Okay? And even if I get adventurous enough, cross over to Italy or something like that, or go north to Germany. All in my car, or just with my ID card. Maybe something that you can even get as an app in your phone, okay? An European health card. Can you understand the freedom that brings you? It's absolutely liberating. It's absolutely liberating to be able to travel around in Europe with just an ID card. So much so that even if Europeans have many of us have a passport, a lot of us don't even need it because there are even countries outside of the EU that are now accepting European citizens with just their ID cards. ID card, another issue for the UK. You seem to think ID card is this control mechanism system, whatever, but no, it gives you rights. But the issue and the problem is this. Like I said in another video I sang, having ID cards or electronic ID cards in the United Kingdom is a risk because you don't have the same protection laws we have. And then I hear, oh, protection. What is the protection laws worth if this and that can be hacked and that and everything can be hacked in this world, my friend. Anyone can hack you, even if you don't have an ID card, and it's not that hard. I have not done this type of crap for a long time, but we could both be sitting at a coffee shop and you would be playing with your cell phone and I would hack your cell phone and you wouldn't even know it. And when I say me, I say anyone. Do you understand? You need laws to protect you because these things will happen. It's the same saying with the electronic ID cards and all of that. But let's get back to the subject. In the UK, I think the biggest problem is the lack of free press, or should I say non-biased press that is more adequate, because there is free press, too free in some aspects, okay, and the lack of education, because you in the UK people learn versions of education. Okay, the people kept being taught imperialistic history even after the empire fell down, and it has not existed since, I would say, before World War II. I would place the end of it with the independence of India. Okay, I would accept, put it there. That's the end of it. And then you had the Commonwealth, okay, and you were mooching off the Commonwealth, and slowly but surely countries started to drift away. There is, of course, an identification of common origins and of what the Commonwealth is and what it brings, okay? No doubts about it. Absolutely no doubts about it. But to associate that with real power, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, okay? Do you think Canada would let 10, I don't know, 5 million of their people to starve uh, to feed England right now? England, I'm saying England right now because they are in fact the most vehement Brexiters of them all. They voted for it after all. Do you think they would do that? Or that Canada would make a bad deal with the United Kingdom so that the UK could be benefit instead of them? When I say Canada, I say South Africa, I say Australia, I say New Zealand. No. And this is the world you live in. You live in a world where the United Kingdom is a regional power. GDP is meaningless if it's just the rich people that are on top that are producing those huge amounts of wealth that go untaxed. You are the country with the most tax haven refuge places in the world. So every criminal in Europe washes their money somewhere in the United Kingdom. And I'm not being, look, I'm not trying to be obnoxious. I'm not trying to be impolite. I'm just saying, telling you the truth, okay? It's true. All of them, they go to the UK to watch their own money. The companies that are there, they earn a lot of money out of it too. The criminals get their money nice and clean from all over Europe, from all over the world, from Russia. It's okay, your friends of those bankings, not the friends of the British people. And that is it. And then there is this lack of education, and you don't see. For example, I keep giving this example. People keep telling about the figure of Churchill like it's some kind of a saint that you cannot criticize. Look, number one, I'm not undermining the role of Winston Churchill in World War II and how he held the country together and all the things that he did. No, not at all. But I'm also criticizing the man that decided to bomb German cities that had absolutely no strategic interest, where you only had refugees and old people and children and non-combatants. Decided to bomb it because, quote, and this is his words, they did the same thing to London, or to avenge the people of London during the Blitz and all of that. This is the man that you put in a pedestal. This is the man that, with his general friend that I don't recall the name, went around Ireland burning burning villages, beating people, raping people, stealing people from people, because he wanted to submit the dissension that was growing in Ireland. This is the same man. The man that was also an obnoxious drunk. That apparently, this I don't know, was a bad father and a bad husband. you don't see the true sides of a person. And around here, we do. When we all look, I give this example because it's one of those examples that stayed in my mind. Afonso Albuquerque was one of the greatest Portuguese uh, admirals, generals, traders, explorers. No, he was a man that was larger than life. He was even a very tall man, very big man. Okay, he was a person that was extremely generous, that left a lot of money, and a lot of things built all over Portugal for those that needed it, for the orphans, for someone that established important trading cities and all of that. He was a map maker. He was someone that taught other navigators and other explorers and all of that. He was a man that was larger than life, a great man. But he was also the cold-hearted uh, man that when the Mughals, the Muslim rulers of a lot of a big part of India during those days in the 1500s, when the Mughals refused to allow him to establish trading posts and trading towns in the Indian coast, to trade in products from Africa and from Europe and from other parts of the Portuguese Empire. When they refused to allow him to do it, you know what he did? He went around, I don't know how long, maybe a year, he went along the entire Indian coast, bombing, burning, pillaging, destroying cities, piracy, and all kind of acts, brutal acts we can call them, in order to obtain that cooperation. And guess what? They ceded. Okay, the Mughals, they gave up because they could not do anything about it. Because number one, imagine a boat filled with Marines, American Marines. Imagine that. That was the reality of Portuguese ships during those days. They were filled with people that were both excellent sailors and navigators and traders, and also excellent fighters. These were people that were used to kill without even considering it. If Afonso told them, you have to, let's burn that village, let's destroy that town, they would, and they would be absolutely ruthless about it. But this is something that we teach here. We don't transform people like Afonso Albuquerque into a god, like you do with Winston Churchill and other characters in your history. And in most of Europe, this is the truth. Even in France, you will find people that will talk about the good things that the Louis emperors did, but you also hear about the bad things that they did and why the French Revolution happened, even in France. Okay. In Germany, you will see the same policy. In the Netherlands, in Belgium, everywhere. Okay, in Spain, next door. And the Spanish, they are very stubborn and proud people. Okay, but even them see the bad in the great figures of their past. They don't transform them into gods. I don't know. Maybe it's this Catholic and Protestant guilt that inhibits us from transforming people into gods. But I don't understand it. Okay, I don't really understand this mentality. But to me, this was one of the key factors of Brexit. And I'm not saying that there are people that were honestly fooled by this. Okay, I have met a couple of them. Some are YouTubers. And I'm not even questioning that, okay? And I'm not bashing these people in because that is not my job, okay? I cannot criticize others because I also have a lot of a lot of issues myself and faults and all of that, just like anyone. But what the British need to understand is that you need to stop being cowards and you need to stop talking honestly about Brexit. Starmer is now in a position where he has to decide. He has to decide to either go forward with uh, a quicker approach to Europe that is necessary given what is happening in the United States. I think it's very necessary for him to decide where the hell is he going to position the UK in. And people inside of UK, you have to decide if you are going to vote with for people like Farage that create problems. I told you I was going to talk about it. Like Farage that creates problems in order to offer you solutions, which is what demagogues do. They create problems in order for you to be afraid and do whatever they tell you to. Or are you going to stop believing in those people? Are you going to leave them behind in the past where they belong? And are you going to simply start acting acting according to your own interests? And the first step to do this is to dismantle this entire vision of rich people and royals as some kind of superior being, the good ones. They are not the good ones, okay? They are people just like you. And a lot of them, they are disgusting people. Just like all those across the pond in that Mar-a-Lago party by Mr. Trump, all dancing with dog masks and eating and drinking of the finest and the best. Well, they have virtual towns of homeless people and people living in their cars, all across the United States. It's that logic that I don't understand. How can you idolize people like that? Look, how can you idolize someone that like Nigel Farage, that was and still is a voice that only brings dissension to the UK, that is constantly in the news, God knows why, that is constantly being propped up by interest groups. And you are losing everything. No, you cannot look, if you are a farmer, you cannot pick a crate of strawberries right now and go and sell them across the pond to France. If you are a farmer, for example, you cannot order your new engine for your tractor from France right now. I mean, you cannot freely, because you can do it, okay? But you have to pay paperwork, pay for a lot of paperwork, a lot of it created by the UK themselves. You have to pay taxes. You have to pay a lot of things. And that is if you are able to do it. And all of this small business, it disappeared. People go to London to see Buckingham Palace and the soldiers with the fur hats going around and all of that, and they say, oh, this is very funny. And then they hop in Eurostar and they go to France, where they stay in France, where they pay for lodging in France, where they go to the cafes and the restaurants and all of that. This is ironic, but this is happening. Duty-free shops in the United Kingdom also suffering. And these are simple things that you can by yourself check out, because not even the UK authorities are no longer trying to hide this. This is very clear, because you see, if you have 10 people in the United Kingdom earning £1 billion every month, okay, or every year, whatever you want, if you have a lot of rich people, of course your GDP will be higher than a country with fewer millionaires, such as, I don't, billionaires in this case, such as, I don't know, such as Portugal, for example. Of course it will be higher. But that will not translate into an actual position of power, number one, and to a country that is richer than other countries. Can't you understand this simple fact? This is so simple to understand. And to all those that are saying Starmer should have another referendum over Brexit, I would say it would be useless with the current media laws, the current media environment that you have in the United Kingdom. I think it would be useless. But what I do think you should have is, coming to the celebration of the decade of being outside of the EU, for you to consider all that you have lost. Because in the end of the day, it's up for the British to decide what the hell they want to do with their country. Do you want to fade back into obscurity, to be the sick man of Europe, because we already are the sick man of Europe? Or do you want to try and do something about it and transform this way of thinking that is absolutely ruining your country? Now, some people think that when I make these videos that I'm against the United Kingdom, that you don't want the United Kingdom to join the European Union, you don't want this, you know. But the truth is, this just makes me sad. Because, you know, the rules to entering the EU are very simple. Number one, the countries in the EU, to be more precise, have to be willing to listen to your proposal to enter. This is number one, the first hurdle. So let's call it like that. To me, it's the first thing that you have to do, the first step. And then, after that, it's rather simple if they accept, if the EU countries accept. You have the Copenhagen criteria. You have all the other mechanisms that and things that you have to do. And from there on, it's simple to start the process. But you have to pass that first hurdle. And I mean, do you think anyone will negotiate the joining of the United Kingdom when Farage might be the next Prime Minister? Because you all are, sorry for saying this, but I'm going to say it, you are too stupid to see that voting for that man is like voting to burn down your country. No one is going to accept that. We have enough issues with Orban. Right now, Orban's voting base is crumbling beneath his feet. Like I told you, around a year ago. Because I already saw it, okay? Because I saw the news. In this case, I saw it in Austrian news. Remember, I also speak German. I don't need Google Translate. And sorry. And we already have enough issues with people like him and like Fico. Okay, we already have enough problems that we have to deal with that we have been dealing with daily, okay? And we will continue to deal with it. Even all of this shit going on in the Ukraine war, we are going to deal with it sooner or later. All of this crap with the United States, we are going to deal with it. Why? Because we have to. Don't you understand this? What the UK is going through right now, it's an existential dilemma. You either move away from the EU, and without sounding all doom and gloom, I would say that it would be a slow decay to some kind of provincial existence and the inevitable end of the Union. And some of my Scottish viewers would would welcome that. And what I would answer to that is that I am a supporter of Scottish independence, because I don't think it's fair. The position, it's not fair for the other countries of the Union, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. It's not fair for them, the position of dominance that England has adopted. Basically, in terms of external policy, England rules everything. It still rules everything. Why? Because it has more people. Simple as that. So either the UK changes to something else. Scotland, if you like the King so much, if you like Charlie so much, you can keep him, okay, and not be a part of the UK. Okay, you can have a different relationship with the United Kingdom. You can be your own country and decide for yourselves, and still be a part of the United Kingdom if it was a true union. And Northern Ireland, look, I'm going to be absolutely honest to you, and I know I might get some unionist orange face idiot in the comments saying we will never surrender, screaming some shit like that in the comments. But the truth is that the future of Northern Ireland is already decided by history and demographics. I would look up at what happened to Custer. It's the same thing in Northern Ireland. It will come to a point where demographically you will have more Irish, and not so many unionists, and they are simply going to move you away and unify with the rest of Ireland, because it's Ireland. It's Ireland. Okay, and if you don't like to listen to me say this, well, too bad. It's my opinion and I can have it. You can have your opinion too. But this entire question of Brexit, now that we are coming to the decade, I would ask each and every British citizen to truly look at this from a pragmatic perspective and see what improved to your life after this. Did Brexit brought you the promises? And don't tell me it's the EU punishing us, or it's the politicians that have not implemented Brexit, because that is all bullshit. You don't have an immigration policy because you have incompetent people. Then that includes the Tories, that includes Labour, that includes Reform. That was a part of it. Right now you have January. He left the Tories to go and join Reform. Okay, because Kemi is still the chairman, or whatever you call the leader of the Tories. And he thought she would fall in the first year, and then he would just waltz in like some kind of messiah. See, I also follow British politics. What are you going to do? Are you going to allow yourselves to be fooled by biased media, by politicians like Farage that promise you things that they cannot give? do you think would happen if he got into as a prime minister? Have you seen what he's been doing in the councils? The utter incompetence. And then you will tell me, oh, the other ones are now better. Is that your answer? Because me, I would at least vote for the person that seems to be the more normal of them all. I would not vote for a lunatic that wants to burn down hotels where migrants are, because those migrants are inside of those hotels and not either allowed to stay in the country or deported, because the United Kingdom's government was expecting Europe to take care of their problems for them. And Europe said no. It's going to be 10 years after Brexit, and your government, the last year, it was they only thought about having an actual meaningful dialogue with the French last year to try and create a policy here of trying to control the flow of migrants through the French Channel. How many years did the United Kingdom had to create an actual policy to deal with this? How many years? So, whenever you feel like burning a hotel filled with people, go down to Westminster, grab a basket of rotten tomatoes, and throw it at them. Because those people are the responsible for the situation. Because you look, I have no issues with immigration, with migrants, with immigrants, whatever. But I want it to be controlled, and I want my government to screen who they let in to our country. And if they are behaving like bastards, I want them the fuck out of here. But you need immigration, okay? You need it. UK needs it. Portugal needs it. France needs it. Spain needs it. But for example, around here, I will tell you this. Well, for example, if you come from South America, or if you come from Eastern Europe, it's much easier for a person like that to adapt to Portugal or to Spain or to even all over Europe. And when these are people from Hindustan and whatever, they are much harder to deal with. Okay, even black people adapt better to our society and our way of living than they do. So, to me, you need a harsher screening on those people, because you don't want to completely stop them from immigrating. Of course not. That would be dictatorial and inhumane. But you want to control it. Okay, you want good people. You want people that go about their business and work and whatever. You don't want people that will create us even more problems than the problems we already have. See, this is someone telling you this, someone that you might consider left wing, but I'm not left wing. I'm not right wing either, because I don't like to affiliate with people that try to hurt other people. Okay, I consider everyone needs to be treated as a human being that needs to have their rights in their space. I don't care if someone is gay. I don't care if someone is transgender. I don't care about anything of that. You want to know why? Because it's none of my bloody business. It's none of my business. Okay, let me ask you this. What is the consequence to your life if one of your neighbors is, for example, transgender or gay? If when you come out of your apartment or whatever, that person is also coming in or coming out, whatever, the usual things that happen when you talk with your neighbors. Then you say, "Good morning, neighbor." The person answers back, "Good morning, neighbor. How are you? How are your kids? How's the family? Whatever." What is the bloody consequence to your life? Are you going to turn gay? Are you that stupid? Don't you understand that is not how these things work? Being gay or being transgender is not a disease. It's a human condition. And if you think it's easy, then talk with someone. Like I did. I talked with people like that. People that are in those conditions. Talk with them and see how hard it was for them to realize they did not fit the mold in our society. Talk with them. Ask them if it's easy. Ask a woman if it's easy for her to put up with some things that women have to put up in our societies. Even if it's not that bad here as it is in the UK, and I know how it is in the UK. Ask them. For example, ask a person if it was easy for them to go to their parents and say that they were gay, or go to their parents and say that they were transgender, or someone that is transgender and that is transitioning or has already transitioned to the gender that they wanted to transition to. Ask them if it was easy. Ask them about the physical pain. Ask them about the mental pain. Ask them about all of that. No, you have to understand this. These people are not aliens. Okay, Brexiters, the other Europeans, we are not aliens, okay? And you are not aliens either. We are all people. And you have to have a serious discussion inside of your country about this shit. You cannot go on having this imperial idea, this self-entitlement. No, you cannot go on having these ideas, because one day or another, reality is going to hit in. Reality is already hitting you. Reality started hitting you when you entered in the EU and you were treated as like you said, as a foreigner. That is when reality hit you. Reality is going to continue to hit you in simple things like, for example, if you are abroad and you are a member of a state nation, of a nation state, of the European Union, and you are in a place where you don't have a consulate or an embassy of your own country, you can go to any EU country, embassy or consulate, and ask for help, and they will give you help. I know. There was a situation couple of months ago, I don't recall, it was the evacuation of some tourists or whatever, that the Portuguese government rented an airplane to go and pick up Portuguese citizens. But they didn't bring just Portuguese citizens. They brought the Portuguese citizens, and they brought, I think they were Spanish, German, Dutch, a couple of them more. They were also evacuated, and our taxes paid for that airplane. This is one of the perks of being inside of EU. Now they are already created a passport of the EU. A passport. And there is and with all this situation with the United States, there is going to be an EU army. I have no doubts about it. Europe is going to federalize. But it's not going to be a federation. Like you see, for example, in the United States, that's not a federation, okay? They call themselves a federal state, but they are not a federal state. I know the states have a lot of independence and whatever, but they are basically the same shit. It's the same culture. McDonald's Happy Meals. That's what I call them. And Coca-Cola. And here, you are going to have something that is completely different. Because Portugal still has its culture. Spain still has its culture. France still has its culture. The Netherlands have their culture. Germany, whatever. Luxembourg, little Luxembourg has their culture. Everyone has their bloody culture. Because that is not the point. The point is the base of what the EU project is. A peace project. This means to create an entity that will stop Europeans from fighting each other. That is precisely why all other countries in the EU are so pissed off with the United Kingdom. Because the United Kingdom did something that you never want to see someone you like do to you. Spit in your face. Spit in a hand that feeds you. It's like the United Kingdom said, fuck you. I don't want to be a part of a club. I'm going to do whatever I want and I'm very much better alone. And now, United Kingdom is like the gazelle that has run off from the herd and that is seeing that all the predators in the savannah are looking at him and saying, happy meal time, boys. Did you see how weak the United Kingdom Alstama? Because he was the convenient face in the crowd. How weak Starmer looked when he goes to the United States, when he visits with Trump, groveling at him. That is what client state rulers do to their masters. And you sit there and you accept this. Well, this video has gone long enough. I had promised myself not to make any more videos about Brexit, but since it's the 10th anniversary, I thought I would make this little video, just to give you food for thought. Okay, interpret it as you want. If you want to curse me out, I really don't care. Because I'm just being honest with you. And that is what friends do. Friends are honest with you. Friends don't tell you convenient lies. Friends tell you hard truths. And I'm giving you hard truths. Well, thank you all for listening. Please stay safe and have yourselves a great weekend.